What is going on, Axie fam? Elijah here, back with another video. It feels really good to be talking to you guys with these updates that are dropping within Axie Origins. Wow, bombshell after bombshell as far as the card updates. We already know about runes and charms, tons of changes there. And at last, we get to see what's gonna happen with what looks to be over 90% of all of the cards in the game. There's adjustments, changes, big changes. Now, before I jump into this, Philip Law made a tweet, Origins Season 2 will be setting new foundations for many seasons to come. This was very important for me to read because the last thing I want is for us to spend Season 2 and Season 3 in this new system with these new implementations just to have it all wiped away again and oh, we're gonna have to do a new game now that this isn't going well. I think people are fed up with how long this process has taken with Origins. It's been a slow rollout. It's been kind of rushed at times. We've had to backtrack. That just is what it is. There's been some highs and lows. I'm really gonna hold him to this. If this is the foundation, let's let it be the foundation. Let's build around this. Let's make this game phenomenal. I do think that from what I'm seeing in these changes, these are really what we need for the direction of the game in terms of the mechanics, the archetypes of classes. It already feels like there are less options for, brain dead compositions, if you don't mind me saying that. By which I mean there's more options, choices, even curse cards, for instance, with Aquas. Sleepless has now been changed, so there's really only 2 curse cards that you can use, which limits the spamming of deck manipulation builds. Yes, you can get stuff with Confuse on the eyes as well, but I do think we're gonna start to see more strategic compositions across every single class. So yeah, these are big changes. I really don't know what the plan was with Origins. Like, what was it that we were just playing? Was that like the starter version and they were eventually gonna roll all this out? Or did they literally come up with all of this midway through the season when everyone was pissed off? I really don't know. It seems like some of this had to have been in the works. Let's start with the new class mechanics like Spike and Blood Spike here with Reptiles. So for Spike, there's now cards that allow you to gain Spike, such as Incisor, where you gain 2 Spike when you play this. So this is something you can stack up across all your Reptiles, and then when you're hit, you consume one of them and reflect 5 damage, and you gain 5 Blood Spike. So if you have 1 Spike stack, and you get hit, you dish back 5 damage to the Axie that hit you, you gain 5 Blood Spike, and then Blood Spike cannot be dispelled. So if someone has Oranda, which we can now take a look at, very, very cool change to this card, I must say. Target any enemy, dispel the target 1 time. Love this change so much, and it's only a 1-cost card now. It's not a 2-cost card. It's so much more utility. Oh, this is really, really good to see. So anyway, let's just say that they have this and they want to get rid of your Blood Spike. They cannot do that. So when this unit dies, deal pure damage equal to the number of Blood Spike stacks to all enemies. This is so cool that this sort of thing's being implemented because we're seeing that archetype they talked about, definitely with Reptiles being the poison class. So when you're hit, you're reflecting damage back, you got poison doing extra damage, you got your Blood Spike, which is kind of a kamikaze ability. When you die, you deal a bunch of damage to all enemies. So if you build a deck around Spike, like Incisor and Scaly Spear, which is now seemingly a very strong card too, you gain 1 Spike plus 1 bonus Spike for each other spear card in your deck. So if you have a Scaly Spear team, it actually means something now. Because when you play this, you're gonna get 3 Spike charges every time that you use it if your other Axies have it as well. Let's imagine that Axie gets hit 5 times. You gain 5 Blood Spikes. I believe that in that scenario, it ends up being 25 damage to all the enemies when that Axie dies, but you're also doing 5 damage per hit with the spikes. So if you're stacking up spikes and Blood Spikes across all 3 of your Reptiles, this is hundreds of damage points throughout the game. Now, touching on plant cards, because there's a lot to cover here. We have Reptiles, Plants, and Aquas. I'm doing all 3 today, and then I'm gonna be doing the other 3 classes in a future video when they drop. I'm not gonna go through every single card. That would take forever. There's also been live streams every day where content creators and players are going through every single card. I'm trying to cover the larger themes here and my larger thoughts around kind of what's happening, but we really are not gonna know for sure a lot of things until we get to actually put this stuff into play. But what I will say is that everyone was hyped around the sleep mechanic with plants. So Theban actually tweeted, "Oh no, Terminators are back in V3." And people are already spending and listing, plants for a very high amount, which is sort of crazy. Guys, this is all subject to change. We really don't have any idea. People theory crafted the hell out of Origins before the game dropped, and so much of that was wrong. But yes, we can take some knowledge, and if you find some good deals that seem to fit your theory idea and it's not too expensive, sure, go for it. Just don't break the bank right now, all right? And so here's the mechanic update. While this Axie has sleep, next time it plays a card, negate that card, then remove sleep. When this Axie is attacked, remove sleep. So now there's a way to get out of sleep, essentially. You're not completely doomed to be able to play nothing. You can use a card, snap out of it, and then play other cards. So why did Theban say Terminators are back? So with Potato Leaf here, this is starting to feel like a snail shell. Next turn, when the target gets attacked, apply sleep to the attacker for 2 turns. Of course, there's Rosa, which applies sleep for 4 turns. You can banish this card. But what Theban is referring to is if an Axie is slept, they have to spend an energy to get rid of the sleep. Then they attack into Potato Leaf, which puts them back asleep. And so they're basically on an infinite stun and doing almost nothing when this Potato Leaf also provides 60 shield. Now, that means you do need to have a ton of sleep. So that means you need to have Double Talk somewhere. There aren't that many direct sleep applying cards from these plants. There's stuff that has interactions like Herbivore. So if the target has sleep, you apply it for 2 more turns. There is Rosa, that's the big one, but this does banish. You don't have it all game long. It's also nice that this does go straight forward now. It doesn't attack a random enemy. There is the nice interaction with Herbivore too, where you can at least play 1 attack card with Herbivore and you keep the opponent's Axie asleep, right? But if you attack it with something else, then you're going to wake it up. So it's very interesting. We're going to probably see some sleep sustain builds come into play. That's what I'm anticipating. And then on the aggressive side of things, similar to the reptiles, Bamboo Spear now looks like a fresh card. You gain 1 leaf plus 1 bonus leaf per other spears in the deck. So if you're going for an aggro plant team, we can see a lot of potential here with Leaf specifically. Nothing about Leafy has changed, I believe. You're still consuming the same amount and dealing bonus damage, but your Leaf stacks themselves can now go up to 10. So you have more potential to heal up from them and be sort of balanced in your aggressive builds where you can be harder to kill. You can also have more in the tank for that Leafy card when you draw it. The other really cool thing, if you think about Leafy and having more Leaf stacks, is that Blossom is no longer useless. And it's the same thing with Aquas and Telescope. These are kind of the same exact card essentially. It used to just be that you can only select from your draw pile, but now you have both options, draw pile and discard pile. If you can get tons of leaves and you play your Leafy and you still have extra leaves left over, you can run into a Blossom and pull back up that Leafy damage card and really utilize this to the maximum, and we could see some insane damage output coming from that angle as well. So all in all, I am just super hyped. We're not really seeing useless cards anymore. It's becoming at least less of the case. Interactions are more prevalent. Combos seem to be forming across all of the different classes. There's just some really cool stuff happening with Reptiles, Grass Snake. This allows you to target any enemy and increase the number of poison stacks on the target by 50%. You love to see that. Now, my biggest question between plants and reptiles is this. Is Silence Whisperer still an auto win versus poison on the right type of sustain builds, right? They also still have Bidens, which can completely obliterate poison as well or make it very difficult to actually get that lethal amount of stacks going on a specific plant. So if there's one plant Axie in a team of 3 on a sustained team that still has that invincibility complex, I don't really know, what are we supposed to do there as a poison player if you're gonna auto lose in that matchup? So there has to be some aggression worked in here. Also, poison is still very defensive, in the sense that even Spike and Blood Spike, those are sort of useless mechanics against a sustain team. So it still seems pretty rough in that matchup. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Maybe I'm missing something here. Maybe I haven't taken a deep enough dive into this matchup, but that's just at first glance what I sense is that we still have a big brick wall that we're trying to break through there if you're a poison player. Now I saved what I feel like is the best for last, which is Aqua card leaks. You guys know I am an Aqua fanatic since the V2 days. There's just something about them, something to love about the aquatic Axies. Maybe it's because axolotls are aquatic creatures, I don't know. But I have enjoyed playing the fish for the longest time, and they're high powered, they're high throttle. I just enjoyed looking at all of these changes today. I felt the most excited of all from this archetype. So I'm going to actually try to go through all of these cards. It shouldn't take too long, and I think we covered a lot of ground already, so I'm happy to end with an in-depth look at the Aqua class. So I mentioned Telescope, that's now a good card. It gives you way more options. You can pull back things that you already played, which I love, and Clear, also very, very good adjustment here. Draw 2 cards, then discard 2 from your hand. So instead of discarding 2 and then drawing 2 and not knowing what you're gonna get, which could sometimes backfire, you get to pull the cards first and then decide what are the 2 most useless cards in my hand, get rid of them, and then make the most out of what combinations you have. It's unstable, so I believe you get a confused card later on, but I think that's still a very nice trade-off to be able to draw 2 cards. As I mentioned, Sleepless is no longer a brain dead card that puts a Dazed into your opponent's discard pile. Actually, I don't even know if Dazed is still gonna be something that is in the game because I don't really see it anywhere else so far. Instead, you can select the closest or furthest enemy and apply Vulnerable for 2 turns. So essentially with Sleepless, you're gonna wanna lead with that on your backdoor compositions because there's so many other cards now in the Aqua class that allows you to attack the furthest enemy. So you can lead with Sleepless, put Vulnerable on them. It's the same thing as like getting to hit them with a little piece, for instance, and then follow up with extra damage to really start to hurt that backliner if that's what you're going after. Garrow, more or less, is still just applying Fragile to the enemy. That's gonna be a nice card against sustain teams. Nemo on the ears now gives 50 shield, and you gain 1 energy fragment when you play it. You gain a bonus energy fragment per Nemo card in your deck. So this is another one where we could see triple Nemo ears across your Axies to really speed up your ability to get to your energy boost. And it also gives your Aqua team a little more balance by having some more shield options, not just being completely one-dimensional and only attacking, which I like. I like to see some versatility amongst classes. I like to see some decision making. Do I play a shield? Do I play attack? This is something V2 was very, very good at. Bubble Maker looks good too right now. I mean, this card, you get to return it, which could slow down your deck cycle, but it's nice to always get to keep this shield option around for if you want to use it, and also it's giving you another benefit if you do hold on to it, and that is that you're gaining a bubble across all of your Axies passively each time you return the card. I expect to see this come out as well and have some use cases in the heading into season 2. All right, let's talk about the big enchilada here. Tiny Fan, dealing 400 direct damage, costing 9 energy. Absolutely insane, but I love to see it because if you look at other card games, Hearthstone, Magic, there's always these like coup de grace, crazy things that you can work your way up to. In Axie, we have something like that in Fury form. We now have Tiny Fan, which is a 9 energy cost card. It's just like super cool. It's exciting. It's fun from an esports perspective. If someone's building a deck around trying to unlock this and make it playable. So essentially, the way this works is you reduce the energy cost of this card for each level of your energy burst. So the more energy bursts you go through, the lower the energy cost of this card. How that's going to manifest and the way that people are going to get there is yet to be seen. We can speculate, but it's going to really take the game coming out and us getting to, throw some cards together and play around and see how this is actually feasible to get there by the end game and actually just one-shot kill an Axie. But holy shit, this is awesome. 400 damage. That's gonna make for some very fun and exciting games for sure. So now I'm actually gonna go ahead and try and speed up here because this is such a long video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. But essentially with Aquas, we have a lot of AoE potential with bubbles. You can see that those are gonna stack up. Now they did change it to be 5 stacks now that you need before the bubble bursts. It looks like it's still going to be 20 damage to all enemies. Bubble Bomb also cannot be dispelled, so once you have it, you're guaranteed to do that damage across all the Axies. So we have AoE damage, still a very key component, which when you factor into the other major difference here, which is that Aquas are showing real backdoor potential in that many of these cards can either target any enemy or the enemy with the lowest HP, or most commonly you'll see that they can target either the closest enemy or the furthest enemy, which gives you so many options to kill a backliner. We're seeing some great synergy here. Perch also is looking kind of crazy. If you were to be able to get to a 5 energy burst round, you're looking at 150 damage across all the enemies because you can consume all available energy. Now, these are things that again are going to take a lot of thought to build up to. There's not an easy way to get to a 5 energy burst perch crushing blow across a bunch of Axies, but if you do get there, wow, what a great game and what a great feeling that is going to be. There's so much to talk about with Aquas. Like, Anemone is an interesting card now because it does so much base damage. It loses 30 when you play it, but if you kill an enemy with it, then all the Anemone cards go back up to 85. So is an Anemone team possible where you have this high base damage card? Probably. I could see it getting worked into some hands for sure. Even if you're just using it on your first cycle, 85 damage for a 1 energy cost card is kind of absurd. Koi, 2 energy, closest or furthest enemy. We can see this theme reoccurring. We have Shrimp, target the furthest enemy, apply taunt. Ranchu, which is now like Grandma's Fan. I wonder if we're gonna see a change in Grandma's Fan, or if both of these tail cards are going to pretty much mimic each other. Attack all enemies, apply vulnerable. It's only for 2 turns though, so yeah, that's an interesting change as well. We'll have to see. Will Grandma Fan continue to be 4 turns, or will it also drop to 2? And then with Nemo, we gain 1 energy fragment. So this is answering a big question that a lot of players had. Is Nemo going to still give you that crazy boost that can really swing the tide of a game where you just go through your opponent by gaining an extra energy in a single turn? The answer is no. However, you also select 1 Nemo card from your draw pile or discard pile and put it into your hand. So the general theme of Aquas getting to be these high throttle energy booster gainer teams still remains in that you can have multiple Nemos, which can speed up your process of getting to your energy burst. And from the first looks of it, this seems actually pretty insane. Selecting 1 from your draw or discard pile, put it into your hand. So to me, it seems like you can just go through your Nemos immediately and they banish. They're no longer unstable, so you're also thinning out your deck. I mean, Aquas are looking super fly. Definitely the most exciting class that I've seen so far. Obviously, so much is left to be seen. We really do not know, like I said, how this is all going to interact. God, there's so many things. And then Navaga, I know I just keep talking. This is going to be like the longest video I've ever done in recent times. But again, it's a new card. It's a power card now. It's innate. And whenever you have 10 energy fragments, they are consumed. After consuming 40, the effect stops, and then the energy cost of every single card that you have is reduced by 1 for the rest of the battle. So this is a completely different direction that you could go in. If you want to go this route and not even try to get to the energy burst where you gain 1 energy, but rather you consume 40 stacks ASAP, so that everything is cheaper for you and your single cost energy cards cost nothing. Oh my God, I just can't wait to play around and just try all of these things that we're seeing. I'm gonna wrap this up by looking at the number of backdoor cards and also AoE cards I'm going to include into that as well. And then I'm going to sign off for the day. We have Sleepless, target the closest or furthest enemy. Inkling, Gill, which is an AoE card now. Sea Slug, by the way, is not one of them, but hell of an adjustment. It's now a 1-cost card. It cleanses 1 time, you gain 1 cleanser. I think that Sea Slug, the way it was too strong with the number of cleansers that it had. Anyway, let's move on. We're now at Lamb, that's 4. Catfish, another AoE card, 5. Piranha, 6. Blue Moon, 7, closest or furthest enemy, and you draw a card. Perch, that's 8, that's an AoE card. Babylonia, 9, Oranda, 10. Koi, 11. Tadpole, 12. Shrimp, 13. Ranchu, 14. Almost every single attack card has backdoor potential. If they were talking about creating archetypes and classes that were more clearly defined, well, there's your answer for Aquas. You can blast people's backliners into the stratosphere. I cannot wait to see this in effect. I cannot wait to see how people have to adjust their teams to account for this kind of high throttle backdoor team, which we really haven't had yet in any of the Axie seasons. There's been nothing that's been this clearly defined or this threatening from that perspective. Giant Bubble, this is the final point. It's a new card that, from the looks of it, I think it's innate. You retain it. It costs no energy, and all Axies gain 1 bubble. If you retain it, the energy cost goes up by 1, and you add 3 bonus bubbles. You can cap it at 5 rounds. So what does that mean? I think that at 5 rounds, you can put 15 bubbles across your Axies. So it costs 5 energy, 15 bubbles. That's 3 bubble bombs. That's 60 damage for each Axie. I think, honestly, guys, my brain is zapped at this point. We're just gonna have to see how this one plays out. Very interesting, though, and very much in line with the new theme of Aquas, which is bubble damage, big damage, backdoor damage, energy ramp. Oh, man. Season 2 can't come soon enough. I love you guys. I'm excited. Obviously, this is all going to take a lot of work as well. It's not going to be perfect. There is going to, be some adjustments for sure, and we're going to need to learn what's broken and what isn't and try to smooth that out. But I'm tying this all back to this tweet, Philip Law. I am holding you accountable here. New foundations for many seasons to come. So if this is what we're working with, let's build it. Let's make it as great as we can. Let's stay on track. And I'm hyped, man. You guys know I love Axie with all my heart. I know you guys have a lot of love for Axie too. What a journey it's been, all the way from V2 till now. For some people, even V1, they were here during auto battler phases. We got the best IP in Web3, guys. We've got the best collectability. We're soon gonna have, even with Origins the way it is, I believe we still have the best gameplay of anything out there between Origins as is, between V2 and Classic, the great game that was. And I think with all these new implications, we're gonna make it so much better heading into Season 2. Axie, number 1, Axie for life, Axie Infinity, Axie to the moon, Elijah to the moon, Meditate to the moon, you guys to the moon. Love you all. Catch you in the next video. Peace.